Welcome to Knowledgeable Aging. I'm your host, Jason Kotar. Joining us today to talk about understanding the need for business succession planning is Shari Fleming. Shari is an accredited estate planner focused on helping individuals and businesses reach their goals. She is the principal of the law office of Shari Fleming, which is a law firm dedicated to serving with excellence and integrity throughout every transaction, committed to encouraging individuals and businesses to innovate and grow, and devoted to securing, maintaining, and transferring wealth to future generations. The firm's areas of legal practice include business formation and succession planning, real estate, estate planning, and estate administration. In 2020, Shari founded Our Legacy Matters community with the purpose of advancing the concepts of ownership, wealth maintenance, and wealth retention within communities of color. How are you doing today, Shari?
Hi, good afternoon, Jason. Thank you for having me.
Yep, good afternoon. I'm looking forward to our conversation, Shari, but before we get started, for those that are joining us for the live webinar, you should see a chat box on the right-hand side, so feel free if you have any questions during the presentation, type your questions in, time permitting. We will do everything in our power to get your questions answered. So Shari, I'm going to turn it over to you.
Thank you so much. Thank you, everyone, and good afternoon. Thank you for joining us. I just have a quick disclaimer, as all lawyers do. This presentation is for informational purposes only. Anything said in this presentation should not be considered specific legal advice, nor is it intended to form an attorney-client privilege with any one listener, okay? I am an attorney. I am licensed to practice law here in the great state of Maryland. However, I am no one person's attorney by virtue of this presentation. So I just wanted to make that clear. So we are here today, and I am presenting to talk about one of my favorite topics, which is business succession planning. As Jason mentioned, one of my practice areas, or two of my practice areas, are business formation and succession, and another practice area is estate planning and administration. And these two areas go hand in hand because business succession planning is essentially creating a plan for your business when you're either incapacitated or due to disability, or there is a death of a business owner. And so I like to start out with what is a business. I like to start from the very beginning before we get into business succession planning, because my interaction with individuals, particularly in the estate planning side of my practice, is that they are business owners, but they don't really know it. They're business owners and they don't know it, and so they don't know to plan for it. So my experience is that when I am helping individuals create their estate plans, and I'm asking these very, very, very detailed and difficult questions about their personal lives and their finances, their role as a business owner comes up, and I'm like, wait a minute, you didn't tell me this. Let's have more of a conversation. So what is a business? Okay, the IRS defines a business as any activity carried on for a livelihood or in good faith to make a profit. And so essentially, if you are making money off of a good or service, and particularly if that amount annually falls over a particular threshold, you may very well be in business. And so I encourage everyone to go to the IRS website. There are several factors that are used to determine whether or not there is the existence of a business enterprise. And the thing that's important in noting about business ownership is that you don't always need to make a profit. Some years are good years, some years aren't great years, but you need to have the motive to make a profit, which is one of the main factors in determining whether or not you are in fact a business owner. Your business can be part-time, it can be full-time. You could be gainfully employed by an employer and have a business enterprise that you do on a part-time basis. And so if you find yourself in this particular situation, or you are earning a profit, you should really stay tuned and listen in. Some examples that I want to give as far as business owners who don't really always see themselves as business owners are freelance contractors or gig economy workers is the new term that we're using these days. And so these are individuals who could be selling goods on websites like Etsy, things that they're making in their home and they are selling and people are buying them. the person who makes my t-shirts, I don't buy wholesale. I actually support a small business. She's making a profit and she is a business owner. So if you find yourself doing this, particularly in light of COVID and all that it has shown that we could do in our home to sell and to service, if you find yourself making a profit, then this presentation is definitely for you. Individuals who are selling on eBay, for those of you, I do it, who shop and shop, and then especially I have 3 daughters, and kids grow out of things. Sometimes I give clothes away, sometimes clothes are in mint condition and I resell them. If you find yourself selling goods, you may have a business enterprise. If you are participating as a contractor, maybe with Uber, Lyft, if you're participating in food delivery such as Grubhub or Uber Eats, depending on what your working relationship is with them, if you're considered an independent contractor, you are in fact a business owner. And so we need to have a conversation about what does really forming a legitimate business look like, and then later on planning for its succession. The reason why I want to talk to knowledgeable aging audience particularly is because I'm noticing that there are a lot of individuals who are retiring. They are older and they have had full careers, and they are retiring and they are vibrant and young and they are out here figuring out, they're turning hobbies that used to be, just fun things to do into legitimate business enterprises. I actually had a consult not too long ago with a friend, a mentor of sorts, who has been a lawyer for 35 years, who is retiring, and now because he loves what he's doing, he loves his practice, he loves the practice of law, he's going to open up his own law firm. And so I want the knowledgeable aging audience to recognize that the idea of being a freelancer, being a contractor, or being a business owner is ageless, it's limitless, and so it applies to a lot of people, and you need to know the parameters as to whether or not it applies to you. So what is business succession? I mentioned this briefly in the beginning. Business succession planning is the process of passing control of the business to others for the purpose of either retirement or for business continuity in the event of the business owner's death or disability. I think we have a good understanding of business succession planning for retirement, or at least that's one of the areas where it is common. I don't know if any of you watch HBO, but one show that I watch, I stream everything on HBO Max, is called Succession, and it is about this exact topic. It is about a family business, a family-run corporation, and the father needs to succeed the business, but really doesn't want to. And so in that show, you get to see all of the family dynamics, the son who believes he's entitled, the son who wants nothing to do with the business, but recognizes he can run it a little bit better, the daughter who just wants the proceeds and wants to live her own life, but is still very much entangled. Business succession planning, most of us understand that concept of it, especially if you see the show. A lot of us really don't understand the gravity and the need for business succession planning, really in preparation for death or disability. And this becomes really important for the small business owner because the show Succession doesn't apply to you. And so I want to make sure that your audience, or the audience, is aware that this conversation is really limited to privately owned businesses. Businesses that are privately held, they're not public corporations. Public corporations and some closely held private corporations have boards. that make decisions. And so the business owner isn't one particular person, but there are a group of business owners. So if there is the issue of retirement, death, or disability, decision making is done by a group. And so there is more chance, or the likelihood of great continuity in the business it's more likely that there will be continuity in the business. So I really want to talk to the privately held business owner. Small business is defined by a number of characteristics. It could be defined by employees, revenue. I really want you to think about privately held, which means that the owners are not, you don't trade publicly, and the owners are typically a small group of people, maybe family, maybe a group of friends that come together to partner on a joint venture. And so the reason why I want you to have that type of small business in mind is because those are the businesses where we see a lot of issues with continuity of business, if that is the business owner's decision. So again, the Small Business Administration has a clear definition for business succession planning. I do want to tell all of the listeners that the SBA has tons of great resources. If this is something that you find interesting, the IRS website, the Small Business Administration website, tons of resources available to you for you to do the work, because this work is tough when planning, and it's something that you have to do as a business owner. You can hire someone like me to help you, but me helping you is more of a coaching and more of telling you where to look, but it's still up to the business owner to really, really do all of the work. Okay? So in our next slide, the question is, why is business succession planning important? It's important for the same reasons why estate planning is important. And some people may say, well, why is estate planning important? And it basically, you want to ensure that everything you have worked for in your life transfers upon your death or disability. You want to make sure that there are no hiccups. You want to make sure or ensure that wealth is passed to future generation. You want to make sure that your reputation that you have built over time continues. And so that's why you plan. And one of the main questions that I ask all individuals when they come to me is, what is your purpose in being a business owner? I ask that question because I want you to think about why you are in business. Why did you get in business? Why are you still in business? And what do you desire to happen when you no longer want to be in business? And we all have different reasons why we're in business. Some business owners developed a product because they saw an unmet need in an untapped consumer base, and they said, this is going to be a profitable venture for me, and just earning that profit and selling that product may be it. Some people get into business because they desire to uphold the family legacy. Maybe they're a second generation business owner, store owner, and they want to make sure that the name of the family and that business endeavor and all of the hard work continues. And so they plan from that space. Some people are like myself, where I started my law practice just because I didn't really have, there wasn't a place for me. I didn't see a place for me where I can practice law and have a really healthy workplace balance. I became a lawyer, graduated law school with a husband and an infant. My first daughter was 3 months old, and I since had 2 more daughters. And I found it very difficult for me to find a place where I would have a good balance, where I wanted to be home when they got home from school, and I wanted to be available for check-in and not be stuck to a desk. And so I figured, let me try it out. That's actually how I started my law practice. It wasn't this great decision that I'm going to just be great and have my own practice. No, it was, let me try to practice law while also serving these other roles. And so my succession plan comes from that. I don't have any intention for my daughters to take over my law practice. Truth be told, I don't think any of them want to go to law school. And so as a planning point for me, that's off the table. So I have to consider, well, what do I do next? If I'm not leaving this legacy and this practice and this family name, this practice with my name for my children, what does succession look like for me? And so I would encourage every single business owner to think about that. Why are you in business? Why are you making money? Why are you existing? What is the purpose of your business? Is it to make money? Because that's wonderful. If it's to make money, then your goal is to get out with as much money as possible. And so keep those things in mind as we move forward in this presentation. What happens when you fail to plan? I don't want to scare people. I don't like to practice from a scary place. I know that when I have clients come to me for estate planning in particular, they are nervous, and death can be, or disability, death and disability can be very difficult topics because we don't want to consider a world without us. Our ego just won't allow it. And so it can be very difficult for us to have some of these conversations. But and so I don't want to lead from a place, or to have a conversation from a place where I am scaring you into planning as a business owner. But the reason why I encourage business owners to think about their purpose, because if you're clear on your purpose, talking about succession isn't scary. It is the next natural, logical thing that should happen, because you're not going to be here forever. This is a fact. Okay, and you're not going to be in business forever. So what happens when you fail to plan? You have to be aware of the negative consequences. One consequence is conservatorship. Conservatorship. It is the legal status by which the courts, whatever jurisdiction your business is operating out of, they appoint a person to manage your financial affairs, or the financial affairs of your business, in the event that the business owner is incapacitated. So this is really, conservatorship happens really in contemplation, or when there is a disability, not necessarily a death. And modern science shows that disability is more likely. It's more likely that you may be in a situation where you can be kept alive. By the letter of the law, you are living, but you are in fact incapacitated and unable to make decisions for yourself or on behalf of your business. And so there's a legal process if you have not made a plan, and that legal process is called conservatorship. I actually had a number of these cases come to me, and I did not take them because they were very involved. And that's one thing that you have to be mindful of as a business owner. You're not going to be there. Usually, there's a death or a disability. You're not going to be there. And so transitioning your business when there hasn't been proper guidance or proper plan put in place becomes very weighty and difficult for the people who are left to plan. Those people could be your family members. Those people could be customers who may have paid you, and you're no longer there to be able to render a product to them. So they have to now get the courts involved. And so it can be a very problematic situation where you have a business that is now in conservatorship, and you have to, or someone is making decisions on behalf of your business, and those decisions are not necessarily what you would want them to be. Another point when there is failure to plan, the improper transfer of assets and the loss of business property. When someone else is put in place to wind up and wind down your business, they have the legal responsibility to make sure that there are certain debts paid. They have the responsibility to make sure that any customers are made whole, any contracts that the business have existing, they need to make whole. And so some of that decision making could involve the loss of business property. I don't know if anyone has purchased property for themselves personally or for a business, but my gut tells me that no one goes through the process of buying equipment and purchasing real estate for the business only to have it transfer in a way that they didn't intend to. And so that is another real consequence, because assets are liquidated to pay for your financial responsibilities. Loss of business revenue in a business or the business in its entirety. So let's say that one of your children or your loved ones decide to step in and run the business. There's going to be a hiccup. There's going to be an issue of continuity in a business if you have not planned well. Customers are going to walk away. There are other businesses that are providing the same exact good or service that your business is providing. Your customers are going to go other places. And so if you have someone who is there who would be willing to step up and take the business over, why not put them in a good position and put them on good footing to continue the business by planning? And the last thing that happens with failure to plan, also in relation to having someone who is actually taking over the business, is an impact on your reputation. If there is a product that's not being rendered either a good or service, there's a delay because someone has to deal with ancillary issues, accessing bank accounts, doing things for your business, administrative things for your business, and they're not able to respond to your clients or your customers, that is an impact on your reputation. So even if there is a second generation or another family member who wants to take over the business, or someone, you know, who can continue the business, they still have to now deal with the loss of the reputation. And that can be more devastating than finance, because any service-based business, reputation is everything in a service-based business. And so I often advise individuals, when thinking about business succession planning, start and work with the end in mind. Have the hard discussions with yourself first about why are you in business? What is your purpose in being in business? What would you like to see happen? Do you want the business to continue past your lifetime? My answer for my business is no, not necessarily. And so if your answer is no, then you need to make sure that you are setting up your business for it to wind down appropriately. My goal would be to partner with another firm, or to have a larger firm take over my practice, or merge with a larger firm. What should I be doing now to make sure that that happens if that's my retirement goal? Well, I forge relationships now. Reputation is everything. I am working on connecting with other practices who may not have an estate planning practice and may want to expand into estate planning, so I can bring that skill set to that practice. That's what I'm working on now. That is what you could be working on, or something similar if it is your desire to not have your business last beyond your lifetime. Selling your business is completely possible. Selling law practice is a very difficult thing, just because all of the nuances with ethics and lawyer-client relationships. But medical practices can be sold. There are other types of businesses that could be sold. If you're producing a product on Etsy, if you're producing hair care products, all of those things could be sold to a much larger distributor. What should you be doing now to prepare yourself and put yourself in a place to make your business more marketable? Should you be trademarking certain names and products to add value to your business? These are the things that you need to be working on now as a business owner in contemplation of succession. So let's say that you do want the business to last beyond your lifetime, and you do want to remain connected to the business. Who would you desire to take over the business? Have you identified anyone who you desire to take over the business? Who desires to take over the business? That is a separate question, because the person that you have identified may not desire to take over the business. Who is likely to take over the business? That's a separate question, because who is likely to step up? who is that person, either an employee, a family member, someone who you may not even know that this person exists because you're not asking the questions. Someone who would be likely to say, you know what? I can be in charge. I know your vision. I know your mission. I know your intention. I understand the nuances of your business, and I would be willing to do this. Is there a perspective, is a person, the prospective person that you have identified, is that person prepared to take over your business? If not today, when will they be prepared? What does preparation look like? Because you can spend time training your replacement. I often hear it say by some employees, I've heard it said, I'm not going to train my replacement. If someone new is hired and they have to train that person to do the job, they say, I'm not going to train my replacement because the job may be trying to terminate them. But when you're a business owner, you absolutely should be training your replacement if it is your desire for your business to continue beyond your lifetime. You should be transparent. You should have time set aside to build this person. That is not administrative time, and that is not time doing the actual work. You have to pour into people, particularly the person that you want to take over. And so for service-based businesses, there is a special consideration for professional service-based businesses that you must keep in mind. Do you have to have a specific license or certification for your business to continue, particularly in the event of death or disability? In Maryland, you have to be a licensed attorney to own a law firm. Okay, in Maryland specifically, you have to be a licensed, you have to hold a real estate license, broker, associate broker, or salesperson to hold the majority ownership. You have to have those licenses to have majority ownership in a real estate brokerage. There are certain industries where you cannot own the business unless you are licensed and certified within that particular industry. Is that your industry? And if that is your industry, you need to make sure that there is a plan in place for someone who meets the criteria to take over in the event of death or disability. You need to make sure that you have adequate insurance in place. You need to make sure that that insurance covers the person you have identified to take over in the event of disability. Disability is not death. So if you find yourself incapacitated and you have someone take over your business, you want to make sure that they're able to function and do an amazing job so that when you're in a position to return, nothing is lost, nothing is missed. All of those items that I listed that are consequences of failing to plan, they don't come up because you have planned for this. And I say this from experience. I had my third daughter while owning and operating my law practice. And I built in maternity leave. I scheduled out everything, to the T. I had backups. My clients were aware. But there were some things that transpired that were out of my control. And I needed a little bit more time, but I had a plan in place that permitted me to have the time necessary to recover from childbirth with my third child, to jump right back into business at the appropriate time. And so you never know what life is going to throw at you. I think it's a progressive commercial that says life comes at you fast. That is not a joke. It is a real thing. Life comes at us with no apologies. And so if you find yourself as a business owner, you have to take some time, get out of the muck and mire of the everyday business. And that in itself is hard. To step away, getting out of the everyday to say, all right, I'm going to plan. You need to do it for your life, which is estate planning, your personal life, and you need to do it for your business, which is business succession planning. And again, there are tons of resources to help you, and there are tons of individuals in this industry who know how to help you successfully plan.
You mentioned the parallels between an estate plan and a business succession plan. How often, if somebody has that plan in place for their business, how often should it be reviewed?
Well, good for either. This actually goes for either. So I like to refer to the is it 3 or 4 Ds? So if there is you're considering dissolution of your business, of course you're going back to whatever your plan is, and that should be included in your plan to wrap up your business. If there is a death of someone closely involved in a business. Let's say if you're not the sole business owner, maybe you have a key employee. Maybe the person isn't an owner, but it's a key employee that you would have otherwise relied on to kind of help you through disability or transfer. Or a transition of some sort, and that person is no longer here. You need to reconsider what your plan is for estate planning, divorce, for business planning, also divorce. There are particular entitlements that come with marriage in most states. And so if you are divorcing and you own a business, depending on that business entity type, the length of time you've been married, the length of time you've been in business, your spouse and soon to be ex-spouse may have some entitlement to some portion of that business. So death, divorce, dissolution. I think it's the 3 Ds. I might be forgetting a D. But if any major life change that you have, you should be reviewing your estate plan. And for business succession planning, if major parties are changing, you need to review. If your assets substantially change and your business revenue substantially changes, you need to review your plan. If you are, especially in the world of e-commerce, I can't stress this point enough. If you are availing yourselves to other jurisdictions, to litigation in other jurisdictions, which could happen by selling online, selling consistently and advertising in other jurisdictions than when you're located. If you are doing these things, you need to consider, well, where have I availed myself to, potential lawsuits in other states? Because you need to plan for that as well. And so when there is growth and you reach a goal, shall I say, in business, I encourage my business owners to write down everything. And so if you set a goal and you reach it, check back to your plan. Check back to your plan to see if your plan would encompass the new goal or the new marker that you set.
Yeah. Last question, Shari, talks about this kind of team of providers to assist a business owner. So like you, as an attorney, you have finance, right? You have tax. So can you talk a little bit about those dynamics with all of those professions and how they impact when it comes to business succession planning?
Yes. So really, your team consists of anyone that you need to make your business function well. Being a lawyer, I always say everyone needs an accountant, accountant and or bookkeeper. Sometimes it's the same firm, sometimes it's different firms, but you need, as a business owner, if you ever get in trouble, everyone's going to look to see how the money is flowing in and flowing out. And so you need someone who is able to do that in accordance with tax law, both for the state of your business's jurisdiction and for the federal government. An attorney is someone you need more in an advisory capacity on a sporadic basis. It depends on the level of growth and what's happening. You may not need an attorney all of the time, but it doesn't hurt to have one on retainer. Those two primarily. In the world of internet businesses, you absolutely need someone who understands privacy. So that could also be an attorney who understands privacy law and policies that are available or that should be followed by the business. And those are the main ones that I'm thinking of right now. I do have some businesses who absolutely marketing is key. So they have a social media marketing person on their team. And depending on the size and the scope of the business and what the business current goals are and whether or not there are any special projects, it is very important that these people come together at least on an annual basis, just to make sure that the attorney can make sure that the marketing person is, if they are availing the business to litigation in another jurisdiction, the attorney can say, hey, I just want to make sure that you all know that this is happening. And so the accountant can make sure that any taxes, that any potential exposure for tax liability, that's covered as well. So it is great that someone has a team and takes the team approach. That's something that I will support. I also recognize that for a lot of small business owners, a lot of solopreneurs, that financially that may not be something that they're able, they can't afford those type of services. But my advice is this: build it into your budget. Build it into your budget, because my experience is that as businesses grow, they may not have these services, and so they grow, and so they say, oh, well, I've grown without these professional people on my team, and they find themselves in a whirlwind of problems that is more expensive to resolve.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much, Shari. So how can people find you?
Yes, absolutely. So as I said, I'm located in Maryland. My office is in Owens Mills, Maryland. My phone number is 410-316-6800. That's my office number. We are on the internet at www.sharifleming.com. That's SHARI, F as in Frank, LEMING.com, and my email, info@sharifleming.com. So it's the same as that web address, at info on the front with the @ and you'll be able to contact us via email.
So tell me a little bit about Our Legacy Matters.
Yay! So Our Legacy Matters is it's a campaign. It's not a business. It's a campaign, a conversation starter that I developed in 2020 after being in estate planning for a while and really seeing cultural differences in the world of estate planning and business succession planning. And so I just really want to bring awareness and attention that everyone should be considering estate planning, should have a plan, should be considering business succession planning if they do have a business, because your legacy matters. As I mentioned before, why work so hard in this lifetime and not plan for the transition of the wealth that you have developed from all of your efforts? You have to. And so there is really a disparity in estate planning that is based on race. There is tons of information and data that discusses the racial wealth gap and what it is. And so Our Legacy Matters is my push to get everyone, particularly communities of color, engaged in estate planning and business succession planning.
As far as knowledgeable aging, you can go to knowledgeableaging.com. You can see all of our upcoming and archive webinars. You can go to YouTube, type in knowledgeable aging. We ask you to subscribe. We update that several times per month. If podcasts are your thing, you can find us on Apple Tunes, Spotify, etc. Till next time, I'm your host, Jason Kotar. This is Knowledgeable Aging.